Hey viewers, I got another equipment autopsy. I've got a portable ice maker made by Sultan. I think that's pronounced right. I picked this up during cleanup week, and after some minor fixes to it, it seems to work pretty damn good. So I will tear it to bits, show you guys how it works. So you got your controls here, you got your power, you got your select, which one powered up. I will show you guys how this works after I put it back together, because obviously I don't want to destroy this thing if it does work, and I know it does because I've already made ice with it. But your select, change between small, medium, and large cubes. You got your ice bin is full LED and an add water LED. Like I said, this is fully portable. It does not need to be hooked up to a water source. All it needs is to be plugged into a 120 volt outlet. So you've got a condenser fan, some vents. There's your specs. There's your specs on this. So it's rated at 1.9 amps during ice making. Ice harvest 2.7. Uses R134A refrigerant and 65 grams of it. There's a little wiring diagram. So nothing on that side. And the bottom. So here's your ice tray. This is what your ice goes into. And this is your bin. This is what you've put your water in, up to a maximum level of there. You got a little water inlet pump there. Your bin sensor that tells the machine to shut off when the bin is full. Obviously, you don't want this thing to keep making ice. When your bin is full, it's going to overflow and jam it up, and that's just not good. And up in there is where the magic happens. So I'll take all the screws out the side of this and show you guys all what's inside it. Alright, got the screws out of the back. Alright. Just tip this back so I get some better light on it. There we go. Alright, so you got your condenser and your condenser fan. It's a 12 volt DC fan. And a little condenser there. You got your little pump, also 12 volts. So that takes water from the pan inside that you fill. So that's this line here. So it goes in the pump, goes up, and goes into here. I'll take this off in a couple minutes and show you what's under there and how all that part works. But I'll do this down here first. So you got a little compressor, just a baby one, really tiny. Not even a brand name I've ever seen before. You think it'd be like an LG or a Panasonic or a Tecumseh or even a Copeland, but nope. This here is your harvest valve. So when this is operating normally, this is your condenser, and as your evaporator gets cold, it freezes the water around it for a certain extent, so it builds up, and then this valve switches and dumps the hot gas coming off the compressor through the evaporator, melting a little bit of that ice so it melts and falls off. And that's what you call a harvest cycle, and that's what this valve here does. Just put that down there. So you got your capillary line. That's a really tiny copper line. That's what your metering device is in this. There's a coil of it. And that goes up in there. I guess next thing I gotta do is take this top part off. Alright, top screws are out, but before I do that, I forgot to point out, there's your control board in there. That controls all your, where's my light? That controls your harvest cycle, freeze cycle, all that sort of thing. It's a little hard to see, but that's the brain of the ice maker. Alright, so that's just a cover in your door. And here's your evaporator. So what happens, so there's your outlet of your pump. That's where that tube comes up. It comes up and sprays over this little sensor. I don't know exactly what this sensor is, but that's where it comes out. And so this is your evaporator. This is what gets cold. Your water sits in here, and as this is cold, this is well below zero, so obviously your water's going to freeze to it. And after a certain time, like I say, it will dump that hot discharge into here and melt it, and then the ice will drop. And that's why there are two lines here. The tiny ones are capillary. That's what makes it cold. But the other line, that's what's coming off that harvest valve. This is where your hot gas is coming through. So it's coming through here, melting this, and then going back out. And that's what gives you your ice. And you've got a little motor here that rotates your tray so the ice falls down. I'll run this through a harvest, not a harvest cycle, I'll make this make ice and show you guys it in operation because it does work. So there's not really much else to show you. Like I say, it's just the evaporator, your refrigeration stuff, and there is some little touchpad here, but there's no real need to show you that. It's just going to be a little touchpad in behind there, and probably ribbon connector going along here, or actually that's probably it right there. Just go into your control board. So I'll get some water. I will get this going, and we'll go from there. Alright, I put some water down here in the tray. I'm going to switch it on, and I'm going to let it go through a cycle and make some ice. So you can see your water's now coming in and filling the tray. It basically fills on time, so it fills the tray till it's full. Now your compressor has started, so now the refrigeration cycle has begun. I don't know if you can I don't know if the camera can pick it up yet or not, but if you look, I suppose it can. You've already got ice forming on each one. You can tell it's actually got pretty thick already, considering it's only been going about a minute. So I'll just let that go, let it make a cycle. I'll probably skip ahead a couple minutes because just watching it make the ice is kind of boring. But it's going pretty quick though. And I've got the ice thickness set on medium. And one neat thing about this is the condenser fan doesn't always go. See, it's off right now. It cycles on a temperature probe right here. That right there. It's basically to keep the head pressure up at a certain level. So when it does go, there it goes now. So when it does go into harvest, there's sufficient heat there to melt the ice and make them drop. So that'll cool the condenser off some, and then it will cycle off again. And there's definitely some warmth coming off it. So you can see your ice is getting thicker. As I said earlier in the video, this is your capillary line right here. So the coldest part is going to be here. So that's where your first ice cubes are going to form. If you look at the back row, you can see there's not much there. This one here, there's nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. This one here, the second one in, is just starting to form some ice. So these two haven't yet gotten cold enough to freeze the water onto it yet. But as you can see, the first row is already getting quite thick. Alright, we're about 6 minutes into through a cycle. I should point out, when it does finish its cycle and goes into harvest, you'll listen carefully. You'll hear the valve energize, and the refrigerant will go whoosh, and that's where all that hot gas is going in through this larger line under your capillary. And it goes really quick. Now 7 minutes in, and I can see on there's now ice forming on the very last one. It's a very thin layer, but it's there. I don't think this thing is going to stay in an ice making cycle for much longer, because this front row is getting fairly thick. Maybe another minute, maybe less. And what water it doesn't freeze in the tray gets cold. So each ice making cycle goes quicker and quicker because the water is being chilled by the ice making process here. And the water that's not used just gets pumped back in through the pump and comes back out here, and it starts to freeze. So as it goes longer, this back row will look more like the front row. It'll be more even all around. I'm not entirely sure what triggers the harvest cycle. I've got two theories. There's either a timer on the board, or it's based off a sensor. My guess is there's probably a sensor on the suction line here that tells the board, okay, I've gotten cold enough, it's time to go through a harvest, and it flicks the harvest valve over. I can't really tell if there's a sensor on the suction line or not. You can see the whole thing here is building up frost more and more. Oh, and here we go. Now listen. There's your valve. And there you go. So there's an ice cube, ready to go to keep your beer or pop or juice or whatever you put this in nice and cold. So now it just fills with another set. Now the water's colder, so it will be more even. It goes through, and it will keep going until the ice reaches up to this sensor. This is a bin sensor. When ice reaches there, the air temp will either be cold enough or an ice cube will be touching it. It will tell the little computer board built into this that, hey, my bin is full, time to shut down. And it does. So, yeah. That's about it for a portable ice maker. Kind of neat, kind of cool. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, everybody.